page, or does it? You have to refresh it, yes. Smoking and toasting. I have to go back. There's my page. There's smoking and toasting.
It's got to be on here somewhere. Smoking and
There we
Toasting
are.
is
We're live now. That's the one.
They got your face covered.
Well, that happens a lot. That's designed to improve the reach of the program. So it is what it is. Hello, Facebook Live.
Hi, everybody on Facebook.
Thank you for joining us. We're about to start the show, and we have an awesome special guest today, so we're really psyched. The only drawback is that we just can't smoke these beautiful cigars that are in front of us because we're in the non-smoking building. Yes, they do exist, even in Texas. Ready when you guys are. You ready?
We can, but I don't want to get tackled by Bobby.
Yeah.
Hate it when he does that.
So we'll just do the open of the show, talk about a couple of things, and then we'll introduce you and start asking some questions. So, if there's anything specific you want to make sure that we talk about, just like launch right into it whenever you want to. This is a very kind of loosely structured. We do structure it into the 5 segments, but as far as how we go about it, we can keep it fairly loose, and we can talk about anything you want to. So, okay. All right, ready when you are. Ian, you ready? Well. Good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever it is, where you are. Welcome to the program. Good afternoon to Facebook Live. This is Smoking and Toasting. It's the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Welcome to show number 68 with Casa Fernandez in the casa right here in our studios.
Pretty excited about that.
And welcome to my good friend and co-host, Mr. Ian Barry. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Yeah? You having a good week?
I did. I went and had lunch with a friend of mine who's recovering from heart surgery, actually, today.
Wow.
He's pretty excited about getting up and about. And,
I bet.
say hi to Keith. You've actually met him. He's come and hung out with us before.
Yeah, Keith's very cool. So
I'm amazed at he is less than 2 weeks out of heart surgery.
So you took him for a bacon sandwich?
He actually went and had a pork chop. But,
well, there you go.
But yeah, he's up and moving already, and he's expected to be driving again in the next week or two. Hopefully, I mean, he's pretty excited, looking great at it.
That's awesome.
That was good.
Glad he's doing well. Our show is brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and open now in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. I spoke with our boy Jeremiah this week. We are planning. We haven't locked the date down yet, but we are planning a January road trip, and we'll be doing the show live from the B&B in Fort Worth. So that's going to be very exciting. It's brand new, and check out their bar menu and all that means. And they do have, I don't know if it's exactly laid out the way the Houston location is because we haven't been yet, but they do have an area that is, designed to facilitate
and
cigars.
In the worst case scenario, the menu is exactly the same and we get bacon.
And we get bacon, yes, because that's one of the most important things in life is the bacon at B&B. It's just, trust us. I want to say thanks again to our special guest last week, Mr. Rocky Patel. Made for a great show, and it was great to have Rocky on. And we're not slowing down because this week we're excited to welcome Mr. Paul Palmer from Casa Fernandez. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Let's make sure we get that mic a little closer to him because I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss any of the audio. There we go. And we might want to crank his up just a touch. So, Paul, first of all, welcome to Smoking and Toasting. And you were in Houston. Are you here doing cigar events? Are you doing visits? What brings you to H-Town?
We're doing a lot of visits, meeting with a lot of our customers, and it's something that we do regularly. We're with our customers a lot.
Right, and you guys are I want to make sure I'm not saying this wrong, but you guys are a very retail friendly kind of cigar company, aren't you?
That's correct.
Because that's what JFR, which is one of the
just for
cigars
retail,
you make,
yeah.
that's
right.
a just for retail brand, which was designed not to be, although I guess you can probably find it some places online if they go out and find them and resell them, but it's designed not to be one of those online offerings, but designed to really help the brick and mortar shops. Is that right?
That's right. It started in 2005 in California.
Yeah.
With a high tobacco tax. Today we have in about 2,000 stores. And we constantly police some of the customers that just conveniently put it online.
Right.
So it is just for retail, and it's a premium grade A product grown by Aganorsa, and we do very well with it.
I've bought a number of them from our friends up the street here at Casa de Monte Cristo, which used to be Series Cigars. And that was where I think I found my first one, and I found them to be absolutely delicious. I mean, very rich and full-flavored, but without being too heavy.
I actually reviewed one of the JFRs over the summer.
That's right. I remember
just
that.
recently because I'm in a group that does a road trip every year, and we go out to the west side of Texas and float down the river. I don't know if you're familiar with this whole phenomenon. You sit on an inner tube and get good and drunk while you're floating down the river for hours baking in the sun. It's actually a pretty good time. More exciting than it sounds. But I picked up one of these Lunatic 8x80s, I think it is, the Mambo.
Yes, we call that the Mambo. Lunatic is a brand that we had fun with, came up with a name that was kind of catchy. Yeah. And then we have a customer advisory board of about 10, of our longtime customers, and they help us with what we should do. The first thing that we were asked to do was to create the 8x80 Mambo. It is a San Andres wrapper, and it sells retail for $8.80.
Can't beat that for a cigar that big, yeah.
Yeah, and what's unique about that cigar, besides that it's Aganorsa tobacco and a San Andres wrapper, is that it's got 14 leaves of tobacco, and for a cigar with an 80 ring gauge, we were asked to make a bellicoso. A bellicoso is like a torpedo head on it, so when you cut the head of the cigar, it's not really an 80 tree trunk type cigar.
It's more manageable.
So it comes down to about it comes down to usually 60, maybe 66, but it's very popular.
Yeah.
We never thought that it would do as well as it does.
Well, one of the beautiful things about it is when you're sitting on the river, you don't want to bring anything extra that you don't have to. And everything you have is going to get wet if, it's not immediately in your hands. And this cigar smoked, I think, for almost 3 hours.
That's about right.
Nonstop.
That's
no
so
relight
great.
And no runs or anything like that. I was amazed.
Yeah, it's a long filler cigar with 14 leaves of tobacco.
And that's crazy
awesome. Wow. And is it harder to blend a huge ring gauge like that than it is to blend, say a 48 or a 50 or a 52?
Well, in blending, you start, the format that you start with is probably a 6x50, and then you go up and down on ring gauges.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. So, so that's kind of like
that's
the
your
standard.
Control.
That's your control.
So, so in answer to your question, to get the same blend on a 6x50 as you do with a bigger ring gauge, it just requires the expertise.
Right. Somebody who really knows what they're doing in the blending.
Knows the attributes of the leaf. You don't want an 8x80 very strong, because you'll pass out after a third of it.
Right, exactly.
So the Mambo, the Mambo is designed to be a Texas style T-bone steak. It is just very, very flavorful. It is a 3-hour smoke, although the record is an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh.
But as I say, we crush it. We never thought we would, but we sell a lot of it.
Well, and the cigar of yours that I really have become a big fan of is the Miami.
Yes.
And the Miami, we were talking about how this cigar used to have the band with the F on it.
Yes.
And has that size been retired, or just the packaging changed?
Just the packaging change.
Okay.
There was a lot of confusion with a couple other brands that were in the market that had an F. Fernandez is our name. The little factory in Miami, excuse me, with 8 or 9 Cuban Class 7 Master Rollers, makes only Fernandez cigars.
Wow.
So we moved to the oval. We put Miami in the middle.
Yeah, because this cigar is actually put together. It's constructed in Miami, correctly?
It's all Aganorsa leaf, and we make about 1,700 cigars a day, plus or minus, depending on the size. And it's very limited on production.
You guys have a great little slogan too, from seed to ash.
Yeah, that's one of the slogans that we created initially. When we've always been growers, but seed to ash really signifies that we grow tobacco.
That tells the whole story.
And then ash is the cigar. So C- means essentially vertically integrated.
Now, do you find that there's, you mentioned already the confusion with the F, but do you find that there's confusion with you guys and AJ Fernandez? Because there's no connection, right? Other than Fernandez being a pretty popular name in Cuba, right?
Well, the connection is that AJ and Casa Fernandez Aganorsa were good friends.
Okay.
The only thing we have in common from a business perspective is the last name, which is Fernandez,
right.
which is like Smith in Spanish.
Right.
So that's really the only connection. Is there confusion? Yes. So this year you'll see us, make some changes strategically to where there's not so much confusion with the Fernandez and Fernandez.
And you guys not only do obviously the Miami, which is all rolled in the U.S. and the JFR, but you also are involved in putting some cigars together for other brands. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, what we're known for is really growing tobacco and blending cigars. Mm-hmm. We make, we make probably 14 of the big brands in the industry. And we market about
just 14, Ian, not that many.
Yeah,
awesome.
The big brands, and then we market about 14 to 16 of our own. Mm-hmm. We have a factory in Miami, which is Casa Fernandez, Miami, mm-hmm. and then we have another factory in Nicaragua, which is called Tabsa. Right. Tabsa is really for the high volume brands we make, like JFR and some of the other high volume that we couldn't handle in Miami.
Now, Nicaraguan tobacco has really become, I feel like in the last couple of years, has become almost the gold standard. In fact, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I said, of the last, 10 Cubans I've smoked, comparing them to the last 10 Nicaraguan cigars that I've smoked, or cigars primarily made from Nicaraguan tobacco, I got to say that the Nicaraguans are A, more consistent, and B, I feel like they can be just as good. Maybe not every cigar every time. I don't know. That may be blasphemy to some. What do you think?
Well, as a grower in Nicaragua, we have farms, tobacco farms in Jalapa Valley, mm-hmm. which is most like Pinar del Rio in Cuba. It's red sandy soil.
Right.
We also have 2 farms in Condega Valley, which is where we grow the most criollo. Mm-hmm. And we have 2 farms in Esteli. Esteli is black volcanic soil, and that's where you get the power.
Right.
Now, depending on which, Cuban farmer or Cuban expert, in the business, Nicaragua is most like Cuban tobacco than any other place in the world.
And is it just because of the soil having more similarities in that region? Is that why?
It's the soil, it's the climate, it's the weather. It's a lot of things that go into it. It is agriculture, mm-hmm. so you're subjected to the weather. And we have retired Cuban farmers that, maintain our farms.
Wow,
and
that's so
they've
cool.
been, they've been on staff since about 1991.
That's great.
And so that's what we do. I mean, these folks, they live, eat, and breathe tobacco.
We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to ask you a little more about tobacco, particularly about blending tobacco, and just talk a little bit more about your blends. And we're going to taste our first craft beer. It is a Cerveza Por Favor from 903. So that's coming up.
There you go. Awesome. So which one did you say was the blending, like the control size? Was it a 6
50?
by
6 by 50.
6 by 50.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice.
That is about my favorite size to smoke, I think. You and I talk about this a lot, but I almost like this, that size and smaller. I almost prefer. It just seems to me like the flavor is a little more a little more intense. And sometimes with the larger ones, I struggle to get the right flavor and stuff. And I've also found, and again, this could be just me, but this also seems like to me that construction is more consistent in the smaller ones. Like if I have something like fall apart on me a bit, chances are it's a little bit larger ring gauge. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Speaking of Cubans, you gave me a Cuban a while back.
Yeah. Was it Monte Cristo number 2?
Yes, it was a Monte Cristo. And I was going through my humidor after we got back from the big smoke because I had to make some room. And so I was shuffling some stuff around. I have a few Cubans in one particular drawer, and that one was just falling apart. Like the wrapper on it was just coming apart and everything. And I thought to myself, well,
off the record in the United States, 95% is counterfeit.
Is it really?
Sure. Now, I did buy this in the duty-free shop in Mexico City. I was on my way back from...
Well, if it's a Habano store, it's probably legitimate. Yeah. You know, and as a grower, you know, we specialize in Corojo and Criollo. That's all we farm. And I can tell you if, you know, someone is smoking Cuban tobacco across a room... Authentic Cuban leaf.
You can tell?
I can tell.
Wow.
I mean, the aroma is very pronounced. Also, the flavor is very pronounced. You know, and as farmers, you know, growers of a lot of tobacco, you know, there's no second. But the reality also is, and I sure don't want to be quoted, but the reality is that, you know, the Cubans don't have any money.
Right.
It's not the seedlings last year and the year before were wiped out. So guess what? They're buying, you know, leaf from other countries,
from other places, whatever they can find. Yeah, makes sense.
That makes me wonder how many real Cubans I've actually smoked, because I've only had a very limited amount in the first place, and some of them about when I was in Mexico and things like that. So I'm curious.
Well, I mean, you know, we're talking offline here, but. You think it's a Cuban cigar, may not be.
Right.
There's
that makes sense.
Attributes of Cuban tobacco that is unmistakable. But they rush everything to market. They don't have any money.
Right. Everything's very...
Yeah, there's been all kinds of
quality
rumors.
Control is not what it used to be. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. All right. Let us know when we're ready. We'll break out segment 2.
You trying beer today?
Yeah, but give it just a second.
Adam?
Beer for you, Adam?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. All right. Tell me when we're ready. We'll rock it here. Welcome back to Smokin' and Toastin'. If we're anything, we're excited because we've got a very special guest. Paul Palmer from Casa Fernandez is in the house today. He's going to taste beers with us, and I just wanted to, we have our mic up for Facebook Live, right? Yep. Okay, just making sure because I know we were messing with it during the break. So nice to have you guys listening to the show. We are brought to you by the fine folks at B&B Butchers and Restaurant in Houston at 1814 Washington Ave, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Paul is here with us. He is the president of Casa Fernandez. What does the president do, like on a Monday? And like, what does a day look like for you running a company like Casa Fernandez?
I'm a chief cook and bottle washer.
So a little bit of everything. Huh? Do you ever get involved in actually doing the cigar blending yourself?
Absolutely.
Or do you have people that do that for you? Or how does that work?
No, we do that ourselves. We have blending roundtable.
And, nice.
You know, with cigars, it's not like you create a blend today and you're not constantly validating every time you get a shipment or market or whatever,
right? Because
it's an organic product, and you know it's complicated. It's like a chemistry experiment because, you know, with all of our farms, you might have 5 to 7 lots of land on that farm. They can abut each other and be totally different as far as blending attributes. And then from harvest to harvest, it is the blender's responsibility to make sure that blends the same. You know, that what you smoked last year, last month, this week, a month from now. So that's where, the the blenders get really involved.
I'm always amazed at how a blender can take an organic product like a tobacco leaf that's going to change, like from season to season, every time it's going to change, and consistently create the same flavor profile in a cigar. And you said earlier you start from a 6x50 Toro, and that's your standard, and then you move up and down sizes from there. So not only do you have the differences in all the organic side of it, I mean, you're a chef, so you have to take these ingredients and create the same thing out of different ingredients all the time. but then you have to make that happen in different sizes as well. That's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean, as far as validating the leaf, we put aside probably 10% of our entire harvest, and we use it for our brands and our private brands. And, I can tell you that in the curing process, the bale may be 3 to 5 years old, and you're constantly tasting that bale through the aging process. So, maybe a lot in a farm that you used on the last production, it may stay consistent to what the attribute is that you want, or it may change, and you change with it.
I've seen photos in the cigar magazines and stuff of it'll be like a roller or a blender who is lit a leaf, an unrolled leaf of tobacco, and is smelling it. Can you actually tell something about what that tobacco is going to be like in a blend from doing that, or is that really just a photo op?
Well, there's probably two things that you've seen as far as lighting. One is that you take the leaf and you light the leaf to see how that leaf is burned and to see whether that leaf is thoroughly ready as far as combustion and everything else.
Right.
And the other is a tabaquito. That's a little cigar that's just, you're tasting out of that bale.
So it's just that leaf.
That's just that leaf in that bale. So, if a particular blend calls for, specific farm, region, seed, whatever, you want to smoke, some of that bale to make sure that you're still spot on as far as what you're going to use in the next production.
You got to taste your ingredients.
You got to taste your ingredients separately to know what they'll be like when you blend it. And then I can only imagine. Let's say you come up with just a killer Miami. Now it's next year. Now you're bringing the next crops of tobacco in. You're having to go and try to recreate the same taste, the same flavor with tobaccos that are going to be different. Like, obviously, a lot of that is to the talent of the blender. But how do you do it? Do you smoke it and go, well, we're not quite there, we need more of this?
Well, it's, up front, it's a little simpler than that.
Right.
And let me just talk to that. If we think that, Miami Reserva is good for 100,000 cigars, conceptually we put enough tobacco aside to hit those 100,000 cigars.
Gotcha.
No, for that production.
For that production.
That production may be 2 years, whatever. But the reason why Aganorsa Farms can maintain the integrity of the blend is that we have so much tobacco. So, each brand is specified by what you think the total production is going to be.
Right.
And then you maintain it as time goes on. But you're constantly working off of some tobacco that was validated up front on the original blend.
Got it. That does make some sense.
Yeah.
That does make some sense. But then you think of like tobacco blends that have been, particular cigars that have been around forever. Like say a Fuente Hemingway short story, for example.
Right.
Like, how do they go back to that? And is it just my imagination, or have I had some that haven't been as good as others that I've had?
Well, that is the blender's responsibility to make sure that behind the scenes, he is tweaking and doing whatever possible to make sure that the cigar that you smoke today is the same cigar that you smoked 10 times before.
Right. And you said, Ian, a lot like being a chef, and I guess that really is what it is, isn't it? Yeah. Well,
talking about blending, probably the best analogy, which I use all the time, is that blending is like, it's a two-prong approach. It's just like getting your car worked on. So you have the mechanic that's turning the wrenches, who is the roller. The roller doesn't know anything about the blend. All he knows is how to construct
put it together. Yeah.
How to construct a cigar sequentially to come up with that to come up with that blend.
Right.
And then you have the blender who's giving the roller the tobacco to use, and he's constantly trying the cigar during production to make sure that blend is spot on.
And of course, during production, that cigar's not going to have exactly the same flavor that it's going to have, 6, 9, 10 months from now when it's, aged and is ready to be sold, right?
Well, the tobacco that we use for our brands is, it is aged 4 to 5 years as far as binder and filler.
This is before it's rolled?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. So what you're referring to is the comment of a sick period. We do rolling events. We don't have a sick period. You know? And then as far as the wrapper, it's aged 3 to 4 years, depending on the particular wrapper.
Okay.
So you have to start out with good tobacco to make a good cigar.
Right.
But to talk more about blending, it's just it's like a car. You got the roller that's turning the wrenches, and you have the blender who's a technician who's diagnosing and making sure that the car is running right when you receive it.
That's just fascinating. That's just fascinating to me.
And it's an iterative process. It doesn't stop.
And it's much like, I guess, cooking, or like the whole auto business, in that it really is an art and a science. There's art to it and science.
Is there different styles of rolling for different blends, or is that like there's just different styles of rolling for different sizes of cigars and things like that?
Well, in the mechanics of rolling, you will have one roller that's excellent on lanceros.
Okay.
Or he's excellent on figurados, or he's excellent on bellicosos torpedoes, and then you'll have the other guy that is just fantastic on the on the Churchills, Toros, Robustos, that kind of thing. So you choose the rollers that are optimum on that particular size.
Fascinating.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when a roller's been with you for quite some time, then you take him to the next level. Take him to the next level would be maybe, making, the Monnier, which is, it's 9 1/4 by 47, extremely hard to make. The Lancero, the Salamón, the Diadema, all those sizes are
those
maestro.
are tougher, yeah.
Those are maestro sizes. So, I mean, we really focus on the mechanics, besides the actual blending properties, because, to get to the blend, 50% of it is construction. So you buy with your eyes. The cigar's got to look good.
Right.
It's got to draw. If you don't have a good draw, forget it.
Yeah.
You're out of business. So there's five real areas where you focus on, but construction is 50% of getting to the blend.
That totally makes sense to me. And there's nothing more frustrating, by the way, than trying to smoke a cigar that's maybe too tight and won't draw, but you can sense that it's got good tobacco in there, and you really want to taste it.
Well, although it's back to your mechanic, comparison there is, it doesn't matter what the specs are on the car if it doesn't run. You have to...
Right. If the right stuff isn't hooked up the right way, it's not going to run. Ian, we've got just a moment left in the segment. Let's taste this beer. We've tasted 903's Amber before and really liked it, as I recall. And so I picked up a can of their Cerveza Por Favor, which is their attempt to do a Mexican-style lager.
And I know why you picked it up, too. I'm looking at the label on this.
I'm a sucker for that. Yeah, it's got the
label here. Let's put it up.
It's got the Day of the Dead looking guy there. Yeah, yep. Now of course it's actually cold here today, and this is really almost more of a summery beer. So I'm hoping this will put us in a
it may be cold outside, but at least it's wet and rainy.
A summery kind of mood. Yes. What does it say on the car? The can it goes well with. It says something. Maybe it's on the other side of the can.
Let me put my little reading glasses.
Oh
on
yeah,
here.
you've got those fancy reading glasses.
Now.
Yep.
Pairs well with street tacos, queso fresco, and pool floaties.
Okay, so it's not really a pool floaty time of the year, but I'll still go for the street tacos or the queso fresco.
Street tacos is a new term, by the way, for tacos.
Right.
Have you noticed that restaurants have put street tacos
in
instead of just tacos now? Because that's a thing.
That's a thing. They can go. It's just like getting them from a food truck. Only these are $17.95.
That's right.
So. Not a lot on the nose with this, but a really nice sort of a cerveza flavor. I guess is the best way I can describe it.
This is almost exactly what I expect from the packaging. It's not bad. It's a nice flavor.
I certainly prefer it to the sort of big beer version of Mexican lager.
There's that. This definitely has more flavor, and I'm not a fan of putting lime or lemon in my beers in the first place.
Right.
So I don't know how it would taste with that, and I can't even tell you. But, you know, the way it is, this is drinkable.
It's thirst quenching, though. I like that. It is definitely a thirst quenching. And it seems like it's got almost even a little extra carbonation. If you,
it's pretty carbonated.
Yeah,
it came out
very carbonated.
pretty fuzzy.
So. All right, more beer to taste on the program. Plus, I have brought along some titanium añejo tequila, and we'll be tasting that on the program as well. So we've got this good theme running through today.
Tequila.
You're listening to Smoking and Toasting. But it's not like a Corona aftertaste. Though.
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Which is more overriding.
Right.
And stronger.
It lingers on the back of the palate.
Yeah. I kind of like it, though.
Yeah, I think Adam on the music, start pulling it up right at 30 seconds is what we usually do, and just
yeah.
That way we know.
That way it's a good.
If we're not looking over there,
cue
we
to
know.
us that wow, it's got 30 looking.
Right, just at 30 seconds, start pulling it up, and we'll go from there.
All right. Yeah. Very good. Segment number 3 coming up. Ian, we'll do another beer here, and I have 4.
All right.
That's what happens when you let me bring the beer.
You haven't let me bring beer recently.
I know. Well, because I've had some of these that I really wanted to bring in. Just trying to cycle through them here. So.
I do have a couple.
I do have one I think you're going to like. So.
I do have a couple of the most recent Bishop's Barrel, which I think might be the Christmas ale.
Well, remember the last Bishop's Barrel was one you decided we'd already tried, remember?
No, I have a couple of the newest ones.
Oh, the newest one, okay.
The very newest ones.
Well, I also saw that St. Arnold has a new Christmas ale this year. In addition to the regular Christmas ale, they've got one that's Christmas ale something. Anyway, it's got like vanilla and these other things added to their regular Christmas ale. I have not seen the Sailing Santa. Which,
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if they released this instead. But I just saw it in a bomber. I haven't seen it in anything smaller. So,
Ballast Point.
Yeah, our friends at Ballast Point. All right, you ready?
Ready?
Can you take my overall headphone volume down a little bit, please? Not my voice, but the whole headphone volume.
Okay.
He wants
it's over there. It's on the output to my headphones. I think he said I was number 4.
Checkity check.
Down below you, there's a headphone amp. If you don't know where, if it's not real obvious, oh, that's it. Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. That's a little much, but that's okay. I'll survive it.
All right.
Check.
Ready to roll when you are, Adam? Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting, craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 68. We got Casa Fernandez in the house, and we are very excited about that. We also want to recognize our sponsors, B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and now open in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth as well. We will be tasting a little more beer. We have some tequila to taste, and kind of a sad week in the cigar industry as Jose Patron passed away, the grandfather of Patron cigars.
Rest his soul.
And I believe he was 93 years old.
91.
So, 91. Thank you for the correction. I appreciate that. So it's kind of a sad thing. How tight knit is the cigar community? Would you say, Paul? Is everybody kind of friends, or does competition kind of get in the way of that, or how would you describe it?
I would describe it in a couple of words.
Yeah?
Amigos and amigos, which means friends and enemies.
Friends and enemies, yeah.
So we all get along. Orlando Padron was a good friend, a good customer. Mm-hmm. He is one of the reasons why Nicaraguan cigars are best in class, and it's been one of the highest rated cigars for 20 years.
Right.
And, he came from Pinar del Rio, and, we can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah. I think he definitely will be missed. And he really was an innovator when it came to bringing Nicaraguan cigars really into the spotlight as far as people were concerned, I think, and they make some great cigars. And you guys do business with them as well, is that right?
Yes.
Or you have at least in the past?
We do leaf business with them.
You leaf business with them. So that's so interesting to me how interdependent the cigar industry can be. And now you see some of the guys, a guy will get, his name will get hot as a blender or a roller, and then suddenly he's doing cigars, for other brands that aren't his brand. It's just really interesting to see. So I've often wondered, like, how friendly is it? But it's like, I think it's like you said. Yeah. Your friends and your enemies, and everybody kind of keeps each other close. Would that be accurate?
That'd be accurate.
That's good to know. How many cigars did you say that you guys do of your own, of Casa Fernandez, each year? What's your annual production?
Well, I mean, we make the Miami production is in the thousands, and the Nicaraguan production is in the millions.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. In the millions.
Wow.
That's got to be something that requires a great deal of attention when you're making that many cigars to keep your quality level consistent. How do you do that? Is it the structure of how many people you have overseeing the blending and the rolling? How do you guys make sure things stay online?
Well, I mentioned rollers and blenders. Within that group, you have supervisors, and you have to employ and contract the best in class in each group, whether it be roller, blender, supervisors. So, we have a lot of supervisors. They're constantly checking the cigars that are being rolled and also smoking the cigars for blend integrity. Constant. It's a constant thing. And then after the cigars, are manufactured, then, it goes through another review, another validation. When I get the cigars in Miami, which is our warehouse of importation, I'm validating again.
That's
so
great.
When the customer receives the cigar, it has to be spot on.
Right. Because this is your if I buy one of these, this is the what is this with the A? This is the one we were talking about.
This is Secreto Cerrante.
Okay, so if I go and buy one of these and it looks good to me in the store, okay, I'm going to try it. You basically really only have one shot to determine whether that's something I'm going to buy again. So, which is what I would think makes the business so tricky. It's like you've got to be that consistent, because if that one cigar is one out of a box of 20 that is off just a little bit, that may not be anything that I go back and purchase, because I may not know that generally they're better.
Everyone remembers the negative, like, I bought one of those once.
Right, yeah, I didn't like it very much. Yeah,
right, and that's going to...
You're right.
That's a tough one. That's your handshake.
The goal in packaging or presentation is for the cigar to jump out and say, buy me. Now, I can tell you, in the business, you have to provide consistency in the blend, excellence, in the actual construction of the cigar. It's that allows you to create a long-term brand. The worst thing you can do is have a cigar where the first production was very good, and then after that, the blend became different, inconsistent.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me to watch how people who are so involved in the industry, to watch them walk through a humidor. You know what I mean? Like at a cigar shop or something. Is it part of your job to smoke the competition from
Absolutely.
time to time?
Well, I mean, it's not by design, but I smoke the competition for a couple of reasons.
That can be taken a couple ways.
I smoke the competition for a couple of reasons. One is that, we're a very large leaf grower in Nicaragua.
Right.
Probably the biggest, specializing in only Nicaragua. That's where our farms are. And you've probably already smoked our leaf. Didn't even know it.
Right.
So I know some of those brands that are leaf buyers, and I'm always curious as to how they put together the blend using our leaf. That's the first thing.
Right.
The other thing is that if you see a cigar that's super hot as far as sales in the stores, you always kind of wonder why.
Right. What is it about that cigar that's making people?
And then sometimes it's just as simple as marketing. We're champions of growing tobacco and blending cigars, but the reality is that we're not very good at marketing. So that's something. Brand awareness and marketing has always been like our challenge.
Right.
So what I'm getting at is that some of those cigars that you smoke that are just super hot, as far as sales, you smoke it and you go, I don't know. It's not my it's not my palate.
Right.
But the packaging is just fantastic.
Speaking of palates, I was we were talking to someone, I don't remember now who it was, who told us that even though guys like us have a tendency to be really focused on very complex, medium to full-bodied cigars are generally the type of things that float our boat, that from a sales standpoint, that what really sells has a tendency to be Connecticut wrapper, lighter body, maybe not as full flavored. Does any of that impact your business at all, or are you really just in the
it does.
in the more full to medium side?
No, we have from mild to extra full. But I can tell you the way the industry's been going for the last 3 years or so, it's really more finesse. So as the palates develop, the cigars are really medium in that range, maybe a little bit lower than medium, maybe a little bit over medium. The super full cigars, in some cases it's a nicotine drip.
Right.
So
I've had those. I know what you're talking about.
we have the capability of having super strong ligero, and then we also have this other component that's called medio tiempo. Medio tiempo is a leaf that's at the top of the plant or the corona. It's very scarce.
Wow.
So out of 10,000 bales we may use with tweezers and take out these little leaves called medio tiempo. It's very strong but very linear. So we get probably 80 bales out of 10,000 that we look at, and it's just a byproduct because it's not something you sell. But what's been created, there's been buzz created in the market for this medio tiempo. The Cubans call medio tiempo pesado, which means heavy, or maduro, which means dark.
Right.
But it's super strong leaf.
Interesting.
But the other thing in the business is that, from time to time, I'll smoke like a super strong cigar. And we all know what they are.
Yeah.
But it's like maybe 5% of the smoking spectrum, but they have the reputation that are super strong. They make you sweat.
Sure.
In the business, a lot of times what you find is that tobacco leaf may not be fully cured. So what you're smoking is nicotine.
Right. That's why it's so strong.
That's right. But that's where you get the head rush, you get all those things. But really, if a strong cigar is is really based on the ligero that you use. For example, the ligero en Esteli for us, black volcanic soil, is very strong.
Right.
The medio tiempo is even stronger.
And
but
so
you can't use medio tiempo by itself. You would have to use it with viso or seco or whatever your blend is.
And so the more of that, obviously, that you use, the stronger that cigar is going to be.
Yes,
right?
ligero is the strongest component in the plant.
So when you have something like, there are cigars out there that are like, more ligero tobacco. They're designed to just be like make you sweat type of cigars, right?
Well, let's get back to marketing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Cigar may be touted as being, so much ligero.
Right.
But when you smoke it, you realize, oh, wait a minute. This is like a little bit above medium. What's going on? I need to put my thinking cap on and get back to trying to be a marketeer.
Right.
Well,
all right.
But you have, you have those other cigars that are really strong and they're done correctly.
Right.
But that's really not the majority of the market.
Right. The majority of the market's going to be medium and maybe even a little under.
And from a business perspective, we're sitting here talking about cigars in the business. What you really want is you want the customer to not smoke one cigar and be satisfied.
Right.
You want them to
them
smoke
back for
5
more.
cigars and, experience, kind of
What it's all about.
the journey.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, that's why JFR is so popular.
All right.
Because it's grade A tobacco leaf. It's a very good value price cigar, and we just sell a ton of it.
I love it.
You know?
Yeah, it's a high price for quality.
We are going to take a break. We'll be back to taste more beer and to taste some tequila and talk a little bit about marketing cigars. It's Smoking and Toasting.
Sometimes I'm being too upfront with you.
No, I understand that, and we respect that for sure. But yeah, there's plenty of cigar blends that are just to me they're just power, not complexity.
Yeah.
Well, we as blenders in Aganorsa, Casa Fernandez, we blend for balance, flavor, and aroma.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't like the cigar to seesaw.
Right.
We like the cigar. There's one manufacturer who's done extremely well, and the first half inch of the cigar, you get this, this spice burst. Mm-hmm. Strength that just shocks your palate, and you're waiting for something different.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, originally we did the same construction, but I've taken it out. I'd rather have a cigar build, but not seesaw at all.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the worst thing is where you get cigars that you had a cigar last week or whatever, and it was just incredible. And then you smoke it again, and it's like, what is this?
What happened? Yeah.
And
the
reason for that is that, tobacco is very expensive.
Right.
So, Corojo, grade A Corojo wrapper will sell today for, $45 to $48 a pound. Okay. When that manufacturer got the purchase order for X amount of cigars, he bought a certain amount to handle that because of lack of working capital.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time he got a purchase order or half a dozen purchase orders, then he went to the open market and he said, okay, I need Corojo. Well, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. Right. It's different in every way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be country, whether it be region, whatever.
Then you're back to that blender
having to try to figure out how to get to that blend. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's they compromise.
Right.
They compromise. Why? Because the factory, in a lot of cases, has the Cuban mentality. You
Just
make cigars.
There. Yeah.
You make cigars and you ship the cigars. So you make and you I guess in English you would say you make and you charge.
Right.
Okay. So you make the cigars, you ship it, and you get paid.
Right. Yeah.
There's been a few
it's the business,
a few of the companies that have come up over the last bunch of years where I felt like the cigar started off as a really nice blend, and then the construction, we've talked about that, the construction of the cigar just went downhill and everything else. So even though you get a decent flavored cigar, the construction is just more than you want to deal with.
Well, if you employ the right roller, the construction should be the easier part of maintaining the blend and sourcing the tobacco.
The blending should be more difficult than construction.
Yeah, because it requires a very trained palate. You have to know the blend. But the construction, if you start out with really good rollers, that's what they do.
But is that a matter of like if the brand gets too big and they're trying to keep up with production at some point in time, is that hard for whatever, like if you don't have enough rollers or?
Well, I call it eating the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
We've done it. You can name every
one
factory
bite at a time, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Every factory's tried to eat the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
So you get kind of greedy and piggish, and let's just say you're making 20,000 cigars a day. Well, suddenly your brand is on fire, so to speak,
and you
go to 50,000.
50,000, yeah.
So what they do is they go to 50,000, but what sacrifices the quality of construction, of blend, of everything. And
it's a mixed blessing. You're taking advantage of your product being hot, which you want to be able to do, but if you can't stay consistent, the product may not stay as hot as it is. So.
And it's tough to regain some of that lost ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, so in this segment, we didn't do a tasting there, so in this segment we'll do a beer and a tequila.
You want to do which one you want to do first?
Let's open with the tequila, and then we'll go beer.
All right.
All right. So ready when you are for segment 4. Welcome back to Smokin' and Toastin'. This is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, brought to you by our good friends, the Bacon Guys. Actually, they're so much more than the Bacon Guys. We're just fixated on that bacon
B&B stand
appetizer.
for bacon and bacon?
It should. B&B Butchers and Restaurant in Houston and Washington Ave, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. And if you go and do not try the bacon appetizer, it had better be because you're vegetarian, because otherwise you have no excuse. That's all I'm
I don't
saying.
know if you've been to this place, but the bacon appetizer comes out with this bacon that's like over a quarter-inch thick slab.
It's just wonderful.
And then it's covered in blue cheese, and it's just
and
amazing.
Drizzled with this truffle oil.
Butter,
oh my God, it's one of the finer things in life, I have to say. Oh, there's one of the finer things in life. I love that sound.
That was a good
the
sound.
cork coming out of the tequila. So we're tasting a little bit of tequila here. Are you a tequila guy, Paul? You like tequila?
You know, I probably during college I went to more tequila parties than I should have.
Yes, I understand.
there's
was it really good tequila at your college parties?
You know, it was anything. We were all on a budget. You know,
college it's all about quantity.
Yes. But I also worked for about 3 years in Mexico, and there at all the meetings you had a cigar that defined the length of the meeting, whether it was a Robusto, whether it was a Church or whatever.
That's brilliant.
That's
brilliant.
And then the person you were meeting with, you had a tall shot glass, skinny shot glass of what's called Vampiro, which is like a salty tomato juice, and then the next glass with tequila. So you would sip and smoke cigars during these meetings, you know?
Nice.
So to answer your question, today really the only tequila that I drink, if I drink any, is the Herradura Reposado. It has kind of an anise taste to it.
Yes, I know what you're talking
and it's
about.
very good.
Yep, it's very good. We'll have to see how you like this. This is titanium. And to be honest, I bought it because I'd never heard of it before. It's like it was one of those, every now and then you'll be in the store, you're like, well, this brand must be new, or it must be new to me because I've never bought it before. And this is the Añejo, and so we're sampling it now. Ian, first
smells
the nose.
really nice.
My thought when I first smelled it was it smells like tequila.
Yeah,
that's neither good nor bad, by the way. I mean, you want it to smell. I
get
tequila,
a lot of vanilla profile on the nose.
On the nose, yes.
Right there, a lot of vanilla, and then of course that traditional agave tequila smell.
Well, I will tell you, on first sip, it's pretty smooth. I mean, you want, obviously, the whole idea behind going for the Añejo instead of the Reposado or the Blanco is generally for smoothness. With it aging longer in the barrels, you feel like it would get a little bit smoother. This is not as smooth as the Skelly, which is sort of the gold standard of Añejo smoothness.
Yeah.
But it is pretty smooth, and
it's good.
I'm enjoying the flavors.
I like the peppery aftertaste to it. Like it's got a very distinct black pepper kind of aftertaste to it that's just there, and then it's gone. It doesn't linger. It's not spicy. It's just there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you would combine vanilla and pepper, but they do combine in this.
So I kind of like the aftertaste on this one. This is nice.
Yeah, you're right. The black pepper comes on pretty strong, but then fades almost immediately, which keeps it. It keeps
it from leaving a spicy linger.
Right.
It leaves a tequila linger, but not a spicy linger, which is nice.
And while this has some heat, it's not one of those, oh my God, it's still burning down my throat sort of heat. The heat fades, relatively quickly.
You're not sitting there going, smooth.
Yeah. Which again is what makes these things dangerous, when your tequila goes down too smoothly, you could be in trouble.
You ready to back that up with the next
let's go
beer?
Let's go ahead and try the next beer, and then we'll get back to talking cigars here a little bit with Paul.
So surprisingly enough, you brought in an IPA.
Yes, I know this will shock you, but I got all excited because Ballast Point, who we love, we've had on the show before. They're great craft brewers. They have a brand new IPA, and these days, unless you're Stone, because they come out with Stone Brewing comes out with a new IPA about every other month.
Yes.
But unless you're those guys, you really don't see just a new IPA. This is not a...
they do have quite a few IPAs in their profile, though.
At Ballast Point.
Yeah, Ballast
Point. Yes, they
do.
Yeah, they have IPAs of various different... But this one doesn't have... the last several IPAs they've come out with have been... things that were sessionable or grapefruit or had something additional added. This just says Fathom IPA, and it's got a deep sea diver on the front, and you're tasting it, so I want to know what you think.
I want to tell you that this, with the backing up the tequila, is pretty amazing together.
It really is, isn't it? Just there's something about that just
those two things. We've
stumbled onto a pairing, haven't we? And it's interesting because we were going to taste this this IPA in the last segment, and then the tequila in this segment. And we got to talking tobacco, and we didn't get to the tasting, and that's fine. So I just thought, well, let's do the tequila first, since we were going to do them both together in this tasting, and thus the pairing was born.
Well, if you like citrusy IPAs, and I know you do, this is going to be a brilliant beer for you.
Yes, it is.
So much.
It's not super it's not like some of the citrusy IPAs are so citrus forward. This one I find is a little more subtle.
This is more citrus linger, and it's more of the zest of the grapefruit, almost.
See, now I'm thinking this tequila and this beer. Wonder which one of these cigars. I hate that we are not on location today and we can't enjoy these cigars. Do you have? I know people pair cigars, Paul, with spirits quite regularly. And it's becoming a little more common to pair cigars and craft beer. Is that something? Have you got anybody at your company that's waving that flag? Is that
not with craft beer?
Not with craft beer. Yeah.
Typically on the spirit side, it would be Scotch, bourbon, rum.
Scotch, bourbon, and rum.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then when you blend, it's different as well.
Right. Right. It's really interesting to me. Anytime we can have someone on who really kind of specializes in pairings, we love to do that, because that's just one of those. Again, it's almost the art, not the science side of all of this. I think I just knocked the camera completely off course.
No, everyone's looking at me sideways.
Now everyone's looking at the side of your headphones, Ian. But to me that is so interesting. The whole concept of pairings and how it works, and I just love the fact that there's really no way to do it other than trial and error, which I love,
Yeah, to add to the pairing, a couple years ago we co-branded with Abelauer.
Real nice.
Abelauer.
Yeah.
And I have their Abunda on my shelf right now. That's their cast strength.
So what we paired with was the Casa Fernandez Toro, which was a top 25 cigar and aficionado, with the Abunda.
Nice.
And a couple of drops would open up the Abunda, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
But we paired. We had an ad, a joint ad, and it was great.
That's awesome.
We all got together, and Abunda was the choice.
One of the things I love to do, and we've kind of coined the term the whiskey sniff, is I'll start a cigar, and I'll usually get the cigar going, get about a half inch into it, sometimes a little more, and get that flavor profile really well in my palate. Then I'll go inside and I'll open up my whiskeys and just start smelling them. And you'll smell the ones that go well with that cigar.
They'll pair right up.
It makes almost an instant pairing every time. I've had very few failures in that. Whiskeys work the same way. But that's one of my favorite things to do. Like if I'm gonna have a some kind of scotch and a cigar. That's how I pair them up. I pick my cigar and then go pick the scotch after I get
And we're going to be turning the whiskey sniff into a bona fide cigar event that's going to be coming in the spring, in the early spring. So
fun.
We're really excited. We're going to give listeners a chance to come together. Have maybe some hors d'oeuvres, some food to eat, and then we will pass out cigars, and then the whiskey bottles will be opened, and probably some rum and other spirits as well, just to make sure everybody's taken care of. And then people can light their cigars, smoke like the first half inch, like you were saying, and then smell the bottles and decide what they want to pair, how they want to pair it up. So I think
it's a pretty fun experience.
Sounds like an annual tradition to me. Don't you like it? Paul Palmer is our special guest today. He is the president of Casa Fernandez, based out of Miami, Florida, but with factories also in Nicaragua. And you were talking about marketing of cigars. What do you think is the difference between? Let me ask the question a different way. There are great cigars that don't have a lot of money spent on marketing, but they have great word of mouth, and the guys in the shops will recommend that you try them. And then there's the cigars that have the big budgets that they're able to spend a lot of money, and they also make a good product. But which do you think is a better path in the long term for a company like yours? Would you rather have guys in the humidors of cigar shops recommending you one by one, or would you rather have, if you could choose one or the other, would you rather have a big check to spend on marketing and magazines and other places? Which is more effective, do you think?
Well, first and foremost, from a marketing perspective, is brand awareness. Mm-hmm. That's first and foremost.
Otherwise, people are going to walk by you in the humidor.
Exactly right. Mm-hmm. Ratings, for whatever you say are important. Mm-hmm. The top 25, the top 20 for the year.
If you're able to land some cigars in there,
yes,
that's a big deal,
very
right?
important.
Yeah.
But, kind of getting that information out is a challenge. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't do generally billboards and things like that.
You know what? When we first launched, our cigar business, we were doing rolling events 2 months at a time. Wow. Because we bought this company that was kind of dysfunctional, had a great reputation, was one of the high flyers, in the boom. But, we had to, relaunch the
right.
different brands.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can say that, one of our challenges has been brand awareness.
Right.
So however you get there.
Right.
You can get there through, printed media, through, blogs, talk shows, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But getting that awareness is key towards selling your product.
Casa Fernandez, because they do make great cigars.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be back to talk about them just a little more in our final segment, plus tasting something I brought just for you, Ian.
I don't even know what it is. Yeah, that's an oddly good pairing.
Wow, it really is quite astounding, actually.
Would you like a water or something?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Ian. It's the Buffalo Bayou 2017 Gingerbread Stout.
All right. Buffalo Bayou has a thing with their artwork. Like, you can recognize it immediately.
Yeah. And it says here, and we have to read this on the air, this is brewed in homage to all the gingerbread men and women who lost their gumdrop buttons in the war against child sadness. So that may require a little extra work to get into, so I'll give you a moment to try that. But this is a gingerbread stout.
I'm so excited I got my knife back. Had to send it in to get it fixed. It didn't flip out anymore.
All right. Ready? Adam, whenever you are ready, we are ready.
On the beach in Hawaii.
Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. This program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are really thrilled and excited. I love when we have a guest on the show who not only represents a great line of products, but who also is really knowledgeable about how all of this works and how the industry works, because I love learning these things. And Paul Palmer, the president of Casa Fernandez, is here in the studio with us. And, you guys are responsible for not only some very good, very well-respected blends of your own, but also for working as someone who's selling cigar leaves from your various farms and plantations that you have to other cigar people, and even making some cigars, correct, for certain distributors. Which of those things is more rewarding? Is it your in-house brands that really warm your heart, and is that more or less profitable than the side where you're providing all this great tobacco to other people?
Well, I think, the most rewarding aspect of cigar manufacturing is when, you get rave reviews from the end user, from the smoker.
So with that, it's almost almost a bigger deal when it's your own cigar because you've been a part of the whole process, right?
Well, I mean, we manufacture some of the biggest famous brands in the business.
Right.
So whether it's those cigars that we've participated in blending with our Aganorsa leaf tobacco, which is very unique, or whether it's our own, products at Casa Fernandez that we market, it's that customer coming up to you and just saying, wow, what a great cigar. And then you see him at the next show or the next visit, a time later, and he goes, wow, what a great cigar. So
You're
then,
right.
I mean, all money aside and everything else, I mean, that's really what kind of turns me on.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, it is. It's special when people appreciate this thing that you've put your emotions and your love into.
It occurs to me like one of the things tying into that is a little bit of brand loyalty. What I find, I love exploring. Like some people find a couple things they like, they go in a cigar shop, that's what they always buy. I explore. I like to, if I find something, if I try one, like I've tried this Lunatic, which I think is a great cigar, which leads me to trying your other brands that are going to be the same quality as what I would expect from them and different things. And I always find that interesting. If I see that this blend was really good and I enjoyed that, I'll just pick up a few others of the same, from the same house, so to speak, and try those, and I'll expect that same quality.
Well, I will say too that I have always been a, I want to try everything guy, but lately I've noticed I've locked more into like just a handful of things that I've gone, okay, this one works for me every time, and started buying boxes. Instead of just, because a usual trip to the cigar store for me over the years has been go in, buy a whole bunch of singles, maybe if there's a promotion going on, and work with that. But now I'm finding like, that cigar I love so much, I want to make sure I've always got more than one or two of those in the humidor at home. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's kind of shifted for me really over the last year or so. Which is kind of interesting because as we do the show, obviously we try to try a whole bunch of different things. So we'll generally talk about at least one cigar specifically on every show that we've had or that we're smoking during the show if we're on location. So that does keep me, continually trying new things. But I'm becoming maybe more of a creature of habit.
I'm a little curious. This question just popped into my head. At your house, how big is your humidor? Like how many cigars do you keep on hand at the house?
Well, I really don't smoke at home.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's work.
Because you smoke at work. Yeah.
Well, I make sure that I rest my palate.
Right.
Hopefully 2 days a week. Now, if I'm on the road or, I just got back from the big smoke in Vegas, it's like a smoke-a-thon.
That was
right.
Yes.
All those things being equal, when we get the container of 250,000 cigars in Miami, my palate has to be on point to where when I'm trying XYZ, it's like spot on.
Right.
So for that reason, I don't really smoke at home.
That's fascinating. Wow. And I've often wondered about that. We had Rocky Patel on the show when we were out there, and I happened to see him the next day in the bar, and I didn't bother him or anything. He was there with some people that he knew, but I did see him actually light a cigar up, and I thought about that. I thought, okay, if this is your business, if you're here at the Big Smoke, you're on business, you've probably been smoking cigars the whole time, and now you've got this, couple hours while you're waiting to, load up and go to the airport or whatever, would you light a cigar just for enjoyment in that kind of a situation?
Absolutely.
But you
Absolutely.
would.
Because
I
don't, with the exception of a venue like this, I don't really drink at events.
Right.
But I'm constantly trying stuff.
Right.
So something's in the back of my mind. I go, oh, you know what? I tweaked that a little bit. So I went from this slot to this slot, and then I will get, I will just kind of get antsy. So I'll try that cigar.
From this side of the consumer side, going out to the Big Smoke was a blast. We had a great time. There was so much smoking going on.
Oh,
I love walking through a hotel where no one even looks at you twice when you're smoking a cigar.
You went to the Big Smoke Vegas?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we had a great time. My question is, how much work versus fun is that for you?
It's work.
It's just work.
It's work
at that
because
point?
you're meeting and greeting.
Yeah.
It's a lot of showmanship. It's work. But on the other hand, it's part of getting your cigars out there, and letting people know what you do.
We have a saying around here, and you can probably understand this well enough to maybe translate it to something in your industry. But we like to say that the worst day of doing this beats the best day of working for Clear Channel. and that we mean that, and we live by that. But I'm sure you could probably find some sort of a parallel. Like the worst day of working with tobacco and cigars would have to beat the best day of something else that you could be doing, right? Yeah, I would imagine so. We're going to open one more beer, and I think we should do that now, Ian. I brought this one for you. It's wax top covered, and it's from a Houston area brewery that's really
It is fragrant.
getting a lot of respect these days. It's Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company, and this is from their bomber. This is their gingerbread stout. And
It looks like used motor oil.
it does, and it probably has
In a
about-
delicious kind of way.
It probably has about the same viscosity.
It's pretty close.
Would be my guess, but you can smell the gingerbread right away. Yeah, Adam's
Really
saying
can.
he'll take one.
Adam needs one too. Gotcha.
Yeah, this is a very interesting beer. And then this is their 2017. So they make this every year,
Yep.
but every year it's a little bit different, I understand. Kind of like Anchor's Christmas beer.
Which, by the way,
Christmas
is great this year.
Oh, boy, it's good. I think last year maybe my all-time favorite, but this year's is good, too.
I'm loving
But that's-
the drawings that Buffalo Bayou does.
Yeah,
on
they're
there.
really good with this. Oh, and you have to read the little inscription there on the side of the bottle.
It
that
says
do the
government
dedication.
warning. According,
No,
not that one. Sorry.
yeah.
It says,
thank
it says
you.
gingerbread stout, Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company, gingerbread stout. This is brewed in homage to all the gingerbread men and women who lost their gumdrop buttons in the war against child sadness. Do you know the
see?
gingerbread man?
I do know the gingerbread man.
The gingerbread man?
Yeah, he ran off with the tooth fairy, I understand. So I'm going to say that I've had some gingerbread stouts before, and this one, do you understand what I mean if I say it tastes a little more authentic? Like it tastes like more than just a stout with gingerbread flavoring. It kind of tastes like a gingerbread cookie.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what, though? They didn't sacrifice the integrity of the beer, I think, in this one.
Yes.
It's a good stout to start with, and it has gingerbread in it.
Now,
So.
Paul, do you ever drink this type of a beverage at all? Is this something you would try or sample?
We
I know
may
you're
be
not
torturing him. He said he's
you're
not much of a
well,
craft
yeah, I know
beer
you're not a
drinker.
craft beer guy. So is something like this just completely like foreign to your palate, or
Foreign because I don't do it.
right?
I mean, I like a lot of bourbon. I like some scotch. I like a lot of rum. But that's not to say that, some of the beers, like I really like grapefruit. So that one beer that was really citrusy.
Ballast Point, yeah.
Yeah, that one beer that was really citrusy was enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
But as far as smoking cigars, the citrus aspect of it would probably, not go well
Yeah.
with the cigar. Same as like a gin with all the botanicals doesn't go well.
Right.
Not as easy to pair. Although I will say, as a person that likes IPAs, the trend of the more citrusy IPAs has helped me a little bit in pairing those beers with cigars, because the citrus will sometimes counteract the bitterness of the hops, and that bitterness of the hops, I have trouble with that sometimes ruining the cigar flavor for me, even if it's a taste that I really like in the beer. It doesn't pair as well, and the citrus will sometimes give it just enough of a twist that I can pair it up. But generally speaking, it's more beers like this oatmeal stout the gingerbread stout. I'm sorry, that are a little easier to pair.
Well, if you
with
just
certain
drink
cigars.
porters and stouts and wee heavies like I do, you don't ever have trouble
See,
with pairing
then,
cigars.
Then you're okay. I know. I understand this. You know what else pairs, by the way? And I found this for like whenever I'm out. Fat Tire, from the company in Colorado.
New Belgium.
From New Belgium. Thank you. That is a wonderful beer to pair with cigars. There's something about that chocolatey aftertaste that it has.
It has that
works.
biscuit kind of
and it
bread
totally
and chocolate.
works.
Yeah, that's
Yep,
a
totally
good
works.
beer.
The other thing that pairs, again, I'm not a beer drinker, but what I drink is the Bass Ale, the dark.
Yeah.
one. It's called Bass Ale, right?
Yes, Bass Ale. Yes.
As far as cigars, it's a home run.
See, there you go.
It's a home run.
I love that, and that's not a pairing we've ever talked about. So I love
it's not.
Always picking up new stuff, and we love that. Paul, I have to say, I'm a bit of a fanboy. I love the Miami line. I love the JFRs, and I'm really excited about trying some of these that you brought along. And thank you for these that are ones that we haven't tried yet. But I just appreciate what I feel like is the integrity of the way you guys blend your tobaccos. It really feels like your consistency and your dedication to craft is really paying off. Plus, you grow some damn fine tobacco. So,
Thank you.
Thank you for spending this time with us. We encourage people to check out your cigars and try them. We'll have links to everything in all of the show notes, and we're excited about having you on. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Smoking a Toast, and we're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant in Houston and now in Fort Worth. Have a great week, my friends, and Ian, cheers.
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 Paul, cheers. Thank you so much. It was an honor.
Cheers to the gingerbread man.
The gingerbread man.
You might want to try the Guardian too. The Guardian is.
I saw that.
Guardian. Yeah, I'm not familiar.
There's a bulldog on it.
Yeah, the Guardian of the farm.
Guardian of the farm.
In our farms, Aganorsa is an agriculture conglomerate.
Right.
So cattle's 1, pork is 2, tobacco's 3 with 11 farms, and then we have rice and humus, and then genetic engineering out of College Station, Texas. So if it's agriculture, we're usually involved. But within those farms, we have a cross between a pit bull and an American bulldog. So those 4
He
sizes.
is the protector of the farm.
Those 4 sizes are different dogs that we have. So the Apollo
That's
would be
great.
Kyle Gillis, who's warped.
That's great. I love it. Well, those would be very fun to check out.
Yeah, I was going to talk about. I didn't get a chance to bring it up because we got on other things. But your marketing is interesting on these. You have some very classic marketing, and you have some very modern marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's some of the randomness
Right.
that this year we will address. There's some manufacturers that are tremendous at marketing.
Well, and I've seen guys have success with both approaches, like
Yeah.
the more traditional looking, and then the ones that just say we're going to be totally different, radical, not be the traditional sort of Latin American marketing look that has worked through the years for cigars. And
Well, for us, when I say random, we have black boxes, we have natural boxes,
Right.
we have varnished boxes. So we want to just take the randomness out of it.
kind of pull that all together. That's got to be difficult. That's getting the hand.
It's
getting the handle
interesting
on the
how
marketing,
you
but-
can have so many different blends, but pulling a cohesiveness into just your marketing can help tremendously too.
Well, it's really a two-pronged sword, or two-edged
sword. Yeah.
You have marketing and you have merchandising.
Yeah.
So marketing is whatever
advertising,
whatever you want to
PR,
do.
or
Okay.
whatever, yeah.
Merchandising is the hands-on in the particular tobacconist
And getting it on a
location.
shelf and getting
Yeah.
it.
So when you walk in a humidor, bang, you see Casa Fernandez. It's
And you're not down on the
we're just-
lower, level shelf or whatever. Yeah.
with stores, you have to, you really have to do 2 things to sell your products and maintain that product in the store, and that is, show them that you bring people in the store, and then show them that your product sells.
Right.
So,
And, is this thing still on? Because I would like to point out to most
Just
humidors,
Facebook
by
Live,
the way,
yes.
why don't you just store the boxes on the bottom shelf and then put an extra higher shelf? That's way easier to get to.
Because that makes too much sense. Ian.
Way easier to get
Yeah.
to than
I know.
Like I got to lay down on the floor to look at some of those cigars.
Paul, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your time and.